And why should I or anyone else trust the Bible?
Well, why? Well, there are plenty of reasons why you can trust the Bible. I'll just give you one as far as the unity and the inspiration that it itself claims.
What do you mean by
And
unity?
just okay, unity of the Bible. So from beginning to end, and I'm sure you've heard these arguments. You have 66 books. Where actually the Bible isn't just one book; it's a compilation. It's a library, right? And so it's a library. It's a compilation of 66 books written over 1,500 years, and
800.
from
But
beginning
who's
to
counting?
end, from book cover, yeah, from book end, you have authors who never met each other. Have over
That's
40
wrong.
authors never met each other.
Not even close to true.
Yes,
lit-
no, it's not. You
They
can fact
literally,
check that.
they literally,
You got over 40 authors.
they literally quote each other. Are you aware that some of the major prophets quote each other, and the New Testament authors talk about how they met? In Acts chapter 15, there was a council between Paul and all of the disciples.
The Jerusalem
So
council.
they all knew each other, and the Old Testament prophets knew each other as well quite often.
Yeah, Acts 15 is talking about the Jerusalem council. Yes, now prophets did. Paul recommends. He harkens back to the Old Testament all the time. He in fact says those things which were written aforetime were written for our learning. So obviously he's going to. But it's the old proverb. That's why, or the old truth is that the Old Testament is the New Testament concealed, and the New Testament is the Old Testament revealed.
Yeah, I
And
disagree.
So of course you're going to have that overlap.
The New Testament is the Old Testament contradicted.
No, it's not. It's a complete harmonization.
Not even close.
And so, in order for you to say disagree, well, show me why this disagreement is the case, because I can show you the unity of the scriptures. I can show it's like this. So, inspiration has three ways, right? You have either inspiration is going to come in three ways. Everybody knows this. All the scholars know this, right?
No,
It's
they
either
don't.
going to be mechanical dictation, thought inspiration, or plenary verbal inspiration. And so I'm under the conviction and the impression that the Bible is plenary verbal inspired, which means 2 Timothy 3:16 and 17, right? All scripture is given by God. That's theopneustos, which means God breathed. And so the Bible itself even claims inspiration.
Cool. So
1
do
Peter chapter
Gentiles need to
1.
be circumcised?
No.
What about what the Old Testament says?
Have you read Acts? Have you read
I've read
Acts 15?
every
It says that
word of
the
the Bible.
Gentiles
I'm
don't
asking
have to be
you,
circumcised.
according to the Old Testament, do the Gentiles need to be circumcised in the New Jerusalem?
No, they don't.
Okay. Have you bothered to read Ezekiel 44?
Yeah, but that's the Old Testament, and
Ezekiel
you're talking about the
44
New
talks
Testament.
about the New Jerusalem. It says, "Thus saith the Lord God, no foreigner uncircumcised in heart and flesh of all the foreigners who are among the people of Israel shall enter my sanctuary," in the New Jerusalem.
Okay, so now you're going to go to Ezekiel 44, and you're taking that out of context to try to prove a point.
I didn't take it out of
So, I
context.
mean,
What's the context? in
Any
Ezekiel-
text taken out of context
What's the
is
context
what?
of Ezekiel 44?
Is a pretext.
What's the context
So
of
the con-
Ezekiel 44?
Okay.
Stop getting up here and lying.
I'm not lying. I have no reason to lie about anything, man.
What's the
You
context
can
of
say
Ezekiel
that I'm lying. That's
44?
fine. I'm fixing to tell you right now. But let me just turn over there in my Bible right now.
So you don't know it. So how do you know I'm missing the context if you don't even know what the
No,
passage is about?
it's not that I don't know it.
You said I'm
it's not
taking
that
it
I
out
don't
of
know.
context, but you don't know what the context is.
I know what the context
That's called
is.
lying.
And that's fine. No, it's not.
You're
It's
breaking
not.
one
You're
of the
trying to-
big
you're
10
trying to go
commandments
to it.
now. You know that liars go to
Well,
the lake
I
of
don't
fire?
believe. Right, and you're going to do all this because all you're trying to do is confuse people that are
I'm
listening.
not confusing
if you
people.
Can sit down and
You're
have
the
a-
one that's confused, not
If you
me.
can sit down and have a good conversation, I can tell you what that actually is. Okay, the context of Ezekiel 44. But you're trying to go to the rules for the Levitical priesthood,
It's not
which
for
we're no
Levitical
longer
priests.
under Levitical priesthood.
This is not rules
Yes,
for
it is.
Levitical
Ezekiel
priests.
44.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's
Ezekiel
not.
44:15 says, "But the priests, the Levites, the sons of Zadok, that kept the charge of my
Yep.
sanctuary when the children of Israel went astray from me, they shall come near to me to minister unto me."
Yes,
Okay, and they
I'm
shall
aware.
stand before me to
And
offer
this
unto
is-
the fat and the
this
blood,
is
saith the
when?
Lord God.
This is when?
Okay, that's under the Levitical priesthood.
When? What time period is this referring to?
Okay, the Levitical priesthood is all the way from the law of Moses all the way to the cross of Christ.
No, it's not. The Levitical priesthood is
Yes, it
forever,
is.
according to Ezekiel 44 and according to
No, it's
Isaiah
not.
chapter 66. It is.
Negative.
So in
Negative.
Ezekiel
Go to
40,
Hebrews chapter
in
7.
Ezekiel, I don't
Go to
care about,
Hebrews chapter 7.
I don't care about the book of Hebrews. I'm reading you
Right.
what
Well, that's the thing.
I'm reading you what the Old Testament has to say. So the New Jerusalem starts in the book of Ezekiel, and we get measurements for the temple in the New Jerusalem. It says the temple instructions: in the 25th year of our exile, at the beginning of the year, on the 10th day of the month, in the 14th year after the city was struck down, upon that very day, the hand of the Lord was upon me and brought me there. And he brought me in vision of God, the hand of Israel, and set me down upon a very high mountain on which was a structure like a city to the south. So he's showing them now the beginning of the New Jerusalem. And he brought me there, and a man was there whose appearance was shown like bronze, and so on and so forth. And then he gives them all the measurements for the new temple, for that's going to be in the New Jerusalem. And this goes on. In fact, he even goes on to talk about the throne that is going to be placed there. There's going to be an outer court that's placed there. It says there's going to be a sanctuary which has faces, and says, the Lord said to me, this gate shall remain shut, it shall not be opened, no one shall enter it, for the Lord, the God of Israel, has entered by it. That's the final promise when it says that Yahweh will be with his people, that he will be his God. I'm sorry, he will be their God, and they will be his people. This is the New Jerusalem that's being talked about in the book of Ezekiel. Have you read all of Ezekiel?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know?
And what you're talking about is apocalyptic language. You can go to Revelation.
And do you know that the second half of Ezekiel, when it talks about the new temple and the New Jerusalem, that this is something for the eschatological period, for the distant future, the very end of things? Is this your understanding?
Oh, no, because that's premillennialism, and I'm not a premillennialist.
This is not about premillennialism. This is about what the Old Testament text says.
No, it's not. It's premillennialism, and it's figurative language in Ezekiel 44.
It talks about
it's figurative. It's apocryphal.
It's not figurative, and it's not apocryphal. You don't even know what these words mean.
Then why is it that? Yes, I don't know what that means.
You don't know
apocryphal means hidden.
The apocrypha refers to a specific type of text, which this is not.
Right, apocalyptic.
You didn't say apocalyptic. You said apocryphal.
Right, apocalyptic is. You're right. I misspoke. It's apocalyptic. That's what I meant.
There you
apocalyptic.
go. Okay, so the second half of the book of Ezekiel talks about the New Jerusalem, and what is the New Jerusalem according to the Bible?
What is the New Jerusalem according to the Bible?
Yep.
Well, I thought you didn't believe the Bible.
I'm asking you.
I can tell you what the New Jerusalem is.
According to the Bible, what is the New Jerusalem?
The New Jerusalem is going to be obviously heaven or the church. I believe it's the church.
No, the New Jerusalem, according to Ezekiel, it has measurements, and there are people that live there. And
that's why it's figurative language. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's apocalyptic.
So
it's figurative language.
It's all figurative.
No.
Okay, so
Ezekiel, you're trying to do that.
So Ezekiel 37 is all figurative when it talks about the Messiah in Ezekiel 37?
No. What principles do you use for hermeneutics? What hermeneutical principles do you use?
My hermeneutical principle is that the stuff that you don't like is not just metaphor because you don't like what it says. You actually have to take the context
you have to understand.
Of the actual passage. Are you aware in Ezekiel 37, there is in fact a Messianic prophecy?
What specific verse so I can pull it up?
Ezekiel 37 starts in 24.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions, but I will save them all their dwelling places, wherein they have sinned, and I will cleanse them, so they shall be my people, and I will be their God.
That's right. Keep reading.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and David, my servant, right? That's talking to the reference to the Christ. David, my servant, shall be king over them. That's right.
Yep.
That's a reference to the Christ.
What's he going to do?
Prophecy. Right. And they shall have one shepherd, and they shall also walk in my judgment, observe my statutes, and do them. Exactly right.
Exactly. Okay. It says they shall follow my ordinances, be careful to observe my statutes. They will live in the land that I gave to my servant Jacob, in which your ancestors lived. Is this a physical land?
Yeah, no, that's physical land. Yeah, sure.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So how is this not a metaphor?
Because, well, I mean, you have to look at certain language, right? You have to look at certain terms in certain languages, right? And so, obviously, there are some times where the Bible is going to use figurative language to describe certain things. They're going to use literal language, right? And so that's why I said the context will determine what language is being used. And so I'm not. You're right. I mean, there is a messianic prophecy there, right? And that's obviously the land that is dwelling is because, well, the exiles, right? The Jews were both carried away into Assyrian captivity in 722, and then Judah was carried away in Babylonian captivity in 586, and the temple was destroyed. So I get all that. So God is talking about he's going to bring his people back, and obviously his people will join. The Messiah would lead his people.
That's right. And what's the Messiah going to do when he gets there? He tells you in the passage. He's going
to give statutes. Right.
And he's going to bring the people back to the physical land that was promised to their ancestor, and he's going to be king over them forever. It says, I'll make a covenant of peace with them. It'll be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will bless them and multiply them, and I will set my sanctuary among them forever. This is in line with the other prophetic utterances that the actual temple is going to be in the physical land with the people.
Right, but notice David, right? Is it literally David? David's been long and dead already by this time, right? So that's how we know, right? Well, so this was that idea of talking about, right? It's not literally David, right? That's why I said the context has to determine who's being talked. Well, it's going to be the son of David, which would be the Christ, the Messiah, right? And yes, obviously, when Jesus came, I believe it's Jesus, right? He will literally be King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
When was he ever king?
Jesus would also say, Jesus says, my kingdom is not of this world, for if it was of this world, my servants would fight.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would say if I was not the real king too. If I was not the king and the prophecy said I would be a king, I would make up some bullshit excuse about how I've got a kingdom far away. Jesus is just your junior high Canadian girlfriend.
Can you give me any evidence for that? Why you don't think Jesus was the king of the Jews?
Because he never was.
In fact, Pilate even wrote it above his inscription, right?
He was mocking him.
Yeah, I get that. But
was there a king?
He was mocking. Was
there an actual king in Israel when Jesus was alive?
Yeah, there were. Yeah, I mean, you had Herod, right? And then you had Roman. The Roman emperor was actually king, right? So, you got Augustus that was around that time, and then was it Tiberius? Well, it's the same person, right? Tiberius Augustus.
Tiberius, well, yeah, he was a Roman emperor, yeah.
Yeah, he was the same. Yeah, Roman emperor.
Okay, so Jesus was never actually a king. He was made fun of by the Romans for not being a king. They mocked him.
Well, Jesus is king, right? And so,
he's not though.
Like Revelation 19:16 talks about King of Kings, right? Jesus being King of Kings, Lord of Lords.
But that's not true because he's not a king. Saying he'll be a king when he comes back.
Well, just because you say it's not true, because you say it's not true doesn't mean it's not true.
Well, give me the evidence that it's true.
Well, he says in Matthew 16:18, right?
Why do I give a fuck what he said?
18, if you will. Wow. Okay. Well, I mean. Why? That's the thing. Is so you don't care what he says, and that's the problem, right? So you're saying,
the problem is I don't believe his words. Why should?
Here's the prophecy uttered by Ezekiel. Jesus is the fulfillment.
Why
of that
should
prophecy,
I believe his words?
You don't care.
Why? Give me the reason why I should care.
Okay, so it's like this. It's like this. Either Jesus is Lord, lunatic, or liar, right?
He's a liar, and he's a lunatic.
All right. I'll say you're going to say he's liar, right? And so if Jesus fulfills the prophecies, right, which he did.
He didn't fulfill
and then
one.
you have, yes, he did.
0 prophecies.
No, it's not. Micah 5:2, right?
Micah 5:2 didn't get fulfilled.
Isaiah 7:14.
Isaiah 7 is not even
he was
about
born
Jesus.
in Bethlehem. Isaiah 7:14.
How many
you
people
say that.
How many people were born in Bethlehem?
How many people were born in Bethlehem?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. The prophecy was about the Messiah being born in Bethlehem.
Well, it actually didn't necessarily say that he would be the Messiah, but it does talk about someone who's going to be a king. It says, "But you, O Bethlehem of Ephrathah, who are of the little clans of Judah, from you shall come
Ephrathah.
Ephrathah. It's Ephrathah. From you shall come forth for me one who is to rule in Israel, whose origin is from old, from ancient days." Did Jesus rule in Israel?
Right. Yes.
Wrong.
Yes. No, he did. He did rule in Israel.
Oh, cool.
Right?
Show me the passage where he was on the throne.
Mm-hmm. Not physically.
Oh, not physically. Oh, yeah.
Spiritually.
Oh, I'm the spiritual king of Israel. Prove me wrong.
See, that's fine. You can sit there and mock all you want, right?
I'm not
there'll be
mocking
scoffers
you.
and
I'm
mockers that are coming
demonstrating the
last days,
stupidity
right?
of your claim.
No, you're not. It's not mocking me.
I'm
You're
the
not
king
mocking
of
me. I don't
Israel.
care if you
Prove
mock
me
me one
wrong.
iota. Here's
you
the
can't
thing.
do
Go
it.
back to the prophecies, right? Yeah, let's go to Isaiah 2. I can prove it.
You're not until you respond to what I said. We're not moving on. I'm the king of Israel right now. Prove me wrong.
Okay, you first of all, you can't even trace your lineage back to the tribe of David, right? So it's like, or the tribe of Judah.
Yep.
You can't prove that you're a son of David.
David is my ancestor.
No, you can't prove it. Show me your genealogy. That's the reason why you go to Matthew 1, you can see the genealogy of Jesus. You go to Luke 3, you can see the genealogy of Jesus.
Goes to Joseph. Joseph wasn't the father of Jesus.
Listen, Mary
prove that I'm not
is
from the
still in that genealogy in Matthew 1.
Mary's
That's
not.
the reason why.
Mary's
the
not.
reason why you have five
Mary's
women
not.
mentioned.
Mary is not.
Mary is.
No, she's not. She's not part of that genealogy.
You can go to Matthew 1 and look up Luke 3 and find that they both have the same.
They both
I can
go to
take you there
Joseph.
right now if you want. Listen, Mary and Joseph had the same family members in their genealogies.
Mary was a Levite.
You want to look at the scriptures or no?
I've got it open right now. Well, you're ready.
Okay. So let's go to Luke.
This is gonna be a painful lesson. Luke chapter 3.
Okay. So when you look at let me pull up.
It's Luke chapter 3.
So you look at the son of Judah. Yeah, Judah, starting at verse 23 is where the genealogy starts.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see how he's going to go all the way back to Adam, right? He starts with Adam at verse 38, and then he's working his way all the way up. He goes Abraham, Isaac, obviously goes to Jesse, Boaz, and then you're going to have, that's David right there, right? David is verse 31. And then you come all the way up to Joseph, right?
To Joseph, not Mary.
Right. But if you go back to Joseph, go back all the way to the son of Heli. Now you got to go to Matthew chapter 1, and you're going to see the same names. You said
Luke chapter 3.
Right, and you got to compare with Matthew
and
1
Luke
as well. Because
Luke chapter 3 goes to which individual? Mary or Joseph?
Right, I'm trying to show you.
Just stay
To
focused.
show you that Mary.
Does it go to Joseph or Mary?
See, you saying, "Oh, I can't talk over you," but yet you get to talk over me.
I'm not going to let you.
Somehow that's okay.
I'm not going to let you evade the conversation. So this is how conversations work. If I ask you easy questions, all you have to do is answer the question. If you ask me a question, I'll answer your question. So if I ask you a question and then you run away from it, yes, I will interrupt you.
I'm not running away. I'm not running away from nothing.
In Luke, the passage you wanted to read, does the genealogy go to Mary or does it go to Joseph?
And before we went to Luke, I told you have to look at Matthew.
I promise we will look at Matthew next. In Luke, where does the genealogy terminate?
It starts at verse 38 and it terminates at verse 23.
With what?
So 23 it takes you all the way. Right. Look, Jesus, when he began his ministry, was about 30 years of age, being the son, as was supposed, of Joseph, the son of Heli.
Joseph, there you go. Okay, so in Matthew, right? the genealogy terminates in Joseph as the parent, right?
Okay, but look at who was Joseph's father.
It's just a yes or no.
And that's what I'm saying.
Is the lineage going to Joseph in the book of Luke?
Yes. Now
Great.
Go back like you said.
Okay, now show me where it goes to
you
Mary.
Said it yourself. You said it yourself. Mary was a Levite, and if you look at, that's the reason why I had you go to Luke 3, because son of Mattathiah, the son of Levi. Verse 24.
But that's not a parent of Mary.
You're not understanding that they had the same fathers in both the lineage. So if you trace the lineage far back enough, yes, that they were related.
Joseph and Mary,
you're going to have the same family members.
Do not have the same family members. Mary's lineage,
they come from the same tribes.
Mary's lineage is not given in the Bible anywhere. The only thing we know about her lineage is that her sister was from the tribe of Levi. That's it. That's all we know.
So we came. That's why you have to go to Matthew. Go to Matthew's.
All right, let's go to Matthew,
and
I'll prove you wrong.
Mary
on that.
is mentioned there. Mary is mentioned.
Mary's not mentioned in the lineage.
Okay.
Matthew chapter 1. Show me where the lineage goes to Mary.
That's what I'm reading right now. And Jacob, verse 16, right?
Yep.
Right. And so she's not mentioned in the lineage, right?
Nope.
Notice that. Yeah, look at verse 16. And Jacob, the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary,
That's right,
of whom Jesus was born, who is called Christ.
Jacob
it's not saying that Jesus was from
Jacob
Joseph.
is the
Jesus
father of
is from
who?
Mary.
Jacob is the father of who?
Notice the father of Joseph,
Okay,
right? The husband of Mary.
Okay,
of whom,
so
of Jesus
Jacob
was born.
is the father of Joseph. Who's the father of Mary?
Listen, Jesus is from. That's the reason why I had you go to Mary.
Who is the father of Mary?
It doesn't say it there. What I'm saying
so then
is
you
Jesus
don't know.
is directly coming from Mary. That's the whole point of going to Matthew 1:16.
We know that Jesus came from Mary. That's evident that they're parents. What we don't know is who Mary's lineage goes to. Her parents are never listed.
I get that.
Okay, so Mary's irrelevant.
But no, she's not irrelevant because she's not irrelevant
then
because obviously
find me her genealogy then.
It's not. I'm saying she was mentioned in the genealogy to prove that Jesus comes from Mary and that Joseph didn't have the son. So obviously this fulfills the prophecy that I mentioned back in Isaiah 7:14.
Was born to Mary. Everyone agrees that Mary was the
and not Joseph.
Everyone agrees that Mary was the mother of Jesus. There's no question there. The question that we're trying to talk about.
The virgin.
She wasn't a virgin, but the question we're answering right now.
Yes, she was.
She wasn't. The question that we're answering
she was.
She wasn't. The questions that we're answering right now.
It's the Hebrew word alma.
Alma doesn't mean virgin. The Hebrew word alma means a young woman, and I promise.
No, that's one of the.
I promise we can go there next when you stop talking and pivoting. I will not let you run from this topic until we complete it. So you said that the genealogy goes back to David for Jesus, and you said it went through Mary. Now we're reading the genealogies, and neither one of them go through Mary. Would you like to revise your previous claim, or can you find me a genealogy of Mary somewhere?
Listen, you might have mistaken what I said was Mary was mentioned in the genealogy. I said there were 5 women mentioned in Matthew's genealogy of Jesus.
So
what?
There
were 5 women.
I don't care.
Mary was mentioned.
Everyone knows that Mary was the mother of Jesus. The question is whether or not Mary goes back to David.
The whole point of that was to prove that Jesus.
You brought up the talking point that the lineage of Jesus goes back to King David. And then I showed you that in Luke, it goes through Joseph, which wasn't the father of Jesus. And you said that Matthew goes through Mary, which is commonly held a saying, but it's not true. So then we went to Matthew. I made you read Matthew, and it turned out that Matthew didn't give a genealogy of Mary. So, AP, I don't know why you're talking. Your screen tells you that you're muted when you're muted. You should know that you're muted. This is not difficult. So in the conversation that we're having is whether or not Jesus's genealogy goes back to David. Does it go back to David through Mary, or does it go back to David through Joseph?
Well, obviously it goes back through Joseph.
Okay, so then your previous claim is false. Was Joseph the father of Jesus?
No, he wasn't.
Okay,
he was a stepfather.
Okay,
yes.
So he's got an adopted father that may or may not actually have a lineage that goes back to David. And we've got other problems with the lineage as well. For example, in Matthew, since we're already there, it traces the lineage through who? Do you know the king that it traces the lineage through that was cursed in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 22, said that none of his descendants will sit on the throne of King David?
Yeah, Jeconiah. Yes, Jeconiah. Yes.
Okay, so that's your first problem, is that none of Jeconiah's descendants are allowed to sit on the kingly throne.
Exactly right.
Okay.
And so Jesus, that proves my point that Jesus would not be an earthly king.
Yeah, because he can't. It's incapable because his lineage is cursed. But the actual Messianic prophecy says he'll be a literal king. So the fact that Jesus isn't capable of being a literal king...
It doesn't say that he'll be... Go show me where it says that he'll be a literal king as far as like on earth.
We just read it.
Yeah, I know that he's
Ezekiel-
a king. Literally, he is a king.
Ezekiel
but it doesn't say that he's
37.
going to be a king on earth.
Yes, it does. Ezekiel 37 says
No, it doesn't.
We just read it. I'm going to read it to
No,
you
it
again
doesn't.
now that you're lying on
Okay,
the
read it
text that
again.
we just read. My servant David will
Okay.
be king over them, and they shall have one shepherd. They shall follow my ordinances and be careful to observe my statutes. They will live in the land that I gave to my servant Jacob. That is Israel. That is the land that was given to their servant Jacob.
Okay.
This is a physical
Right.
king
Okay.
over a physical people in a physical land, and Jesus was not that.
Listen to what you're saying. Again, it does not say that he's going to be king on earth. Just because you say, oh, this is physical
does.
land. No, it doesn't.
What
it
is
does
the
not.
what is the land that was given to Jacob?
Listen, read the verse again.
What
My
is-
servant David shall be king over them.
We'll try this again. What is the land that was given to Jacob? What do we call it?
Oh, obviously it's the promised land, it's Palestine.
It's Israel. Okay, cool. So he says that the people that the king is leading are going to live in that land, and that land is on the earth.
Listen, read Ezekiel 37:25 once more. They shall dwell in the land that I gave to my servant Jacob. It doesn't say he's going to be a king on that land or in that land.
It says,
No, it
my
doesn't.
servant David will be their prince forever. It's wild that you think that he's going to be a king and a prince forever, and he's not going to actually be there, because if you just read the rest of Ezekiel, the prince shows up again, and the prince is giving offerings and sacrifices with the people of Israel in a renewed temple in a reapportioned land.
Again, you're taking these out of context.
I'm
You're not
not.
applying it. Because I can take you to Isaiah chapter 2
Isaiah
right now
chap-
and show you
Isaiah chapter 2
Isaiah
didn't come
chapter,
true either.
chapter 2 to show you. Oh, yes, it did.
It did not.
But for one, I'm so taken back for one who doesn't believe the Bible. Yet you sure do use a lot of references from the Bible.
That's why I know it's false.
No, it's not. It's
It
just
is.
you're fighting within yourself. You can
I'm
tell
not
that
fighting
you do
within
want to
myself.
believe, but out of rebellion, you
I
choose
absolutely
not to.
don't, and you're not a good mind reader.
It's not about mind reading. It's just we know what the Bible says about those who rebel in their hearts.
I know that the Bible's untrue, which is why I'm not a Christian, and you don't know that
You don't
yet.
know.
You're in here
You
to
don't
get a
know.
real
You want to
education
discredit
today.
it. You don't know that.
I do know that. The Bible says things that are
No, you don't.
demonstrably untrue. It contradicts itself at every turn, and Jesus fulfilled 0 prophecies.
It doesn't. Look at Isaiah 2:2 versus Isaiah chapter 2 verses.
You're not
2
going to
and
like
3.
Isaiah chapter 2 because none of it came true. Have you read past verse 2?
Yes, I have.
What happens in the rest of
It's a
chapter
reference.
2?
All right. I'm talking about Isaiah 2 verses 2. and
Well, there's
3.
more than one verse in
4.
Isaiah 2. What happens in the chapter?
Yeah, I get that. But I
What
want to focus
happens
on verses 2
in
and
the
3.
chapter?
Okay, judgment happens.
And what
Judgment
else?
happens on. What do you mean? And what else?
And what
First,
else?
you got to take it. You got to take it for what it is. There's a prophecy.
I know what it
There's a
is,
prophecy.
EP. I need you to stop pretending like I haven't read it. So,
Ain't nobody pretended.
if you know the context, tell me what it is.
I'm telling you.
The
There's a prophecy.
The context is the end of days when God rescues his people Israel and defeats all of their enemies and institutes a kingdom of world peace. That's why it says in verse 4, he shall judge between the nations and shall arbitrate for many people. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation
Right,
shall
it's a
not lift
peaceful
up
kingdom,
sword against
exactly.
nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. O house of Jacob, so on and so forth. So none of this happened.
Yeah, it's a peaceful kingdom. And that's the reason why
But
when
none of
Jesus
it
said,
happened.
my kingdom is not of this world, if it was, my servants would fight.
But none of it
And
happened.
that's why it's a reference to the peaceful kingdom.
But none of it happened.
Go back. Yes, it is.
It says,
and that's why the
nation
church is a
shall
reference
not
to the
lift
kingdom.
up
Go to
sword-
Matthew 16.
Nation shall not lift up sword against nation. What is a nation and what is a sword?
Exactly. What is a nation and what is a sword?
Yeah, the words actually have meanings. What is a nation?
A nation is a people.
And what is a sword?
A weapon, of course. It's
Okay.
talking about it's going to be a peaceful kingdom.
And the prediction says that the nations will not pick up swords anymore, and they won't even learn of war anymore. Okay, which means
right.
This is world
Go to
peace.
Acts chapter 2. You'll see the
This
nations.
is world peace. Nations
No.
will be at peace.
No, it's talking about the kingdom. It's talking about the kingdom will be a peaceful kingdom.
Doesn't say that.
Yes, it does.
No, it
Go
doesn't.
back. Go back. Go back. Yes, it does.
We're in Isaiah chapter 2. It says, nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they, meaning there's more than one, neither shall they learn war anymore. The nations will be at peace.
What is the mountain of the house of the Lord?
That's Zion.
What are mountains? What are mountains
A
used
mountain
for?
is a physical mountain, and Mount Zion is God's holy mountain within Judea. So, but
so
again,
what is the mountain in verse 2 of Isaiah 2?
So what I need you to do is stop dodging my very easy questions. In verse 4, it says that the nations will not do war anymore. They're not going to do it. You already said that a nation is a people group and a sword is a weapon. So I'm trying to figure out how this actually came true before you pivot to a new verse. Can you tell me how this came true?
Yes, I can tell you how it came to.
Right,
if
cool.
you go to Acts chapter 2, you're going to see nations come to Pentecost, to Jerusalem. And that's why I was trying to tell you in Isaiah chapter.
So those nations never went to war anymore.
2. Wait, no, see, you're asking me to answer the question, and so I'm trying to answer, but then you're going to interrupt me.
EP.
See, it doesn't work both ways.
You're lying, EP. The verse says in Isaiah 2, they shall not learn war anymore. Did the nations at Pentecost end up going to war ever?
Listen, when you look at...
It's a yes or no. Did the nations who came to the Pentecost, did they learn about war anymore?
No, so the nations is a reference to people.
We'll try this again. The nations in Isaiah, when it says the nations shall not learn war anymore, is that true of all the nations that showed up at Pentecost?
Listen, again,
it's a yes or no. In Isaiah, it says the physical nations living on the earth with physical swords won't go to war anymore. I'm asking you if that came true at the Pentecost. That's what I need to know.
Yes, it came true at Pentecost when you rightly understand what Isaiah is talking about. Yes, it came true. However,
okay, what's Isaiah talking about?
You won't accept it because the nations is a reference to people. And the people there is going to come. They're going to all come together and be a peaceful people.
The nations.
It's a reference to the church. It's a reference to the church.
The nations of the earth.
The people.
No, it doesn't say the people. There's a word for people.
Nations is a reference to, we all know this. Come on, you can play. You can play.
We don't all
crazy
know
if
this.
You want to.
You're the one up here lying, saying that words don't mean words. So
nobody's lying. Hebrew, all right, look, man. If you're not going to sit there, I'm not going to waste my time with you, man.
In Hebrew, the word for people is
it's
what?
It's fine. Hebrew, the word. What do you?
The Hebrew word for people
again
is Okay, and what's the Hebrew word for a nation or for nations?
Again.
Are they different words? It's goy, by the way.
Yes, they're different words.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay,
words.
And it says in verse 4, both of those words, he will judge between...
Once again, you're trying to...
Says he will judge between the nations, hagoyim, the nations. These are physical people, and he will arbitrate for many people, So these are actual people, actual nations living on the earth. And he says, of those nations living on the earth, they won't learn of war anymore. And you're trying to make a really sad equivocation. Of course, he dropped. Yeah. Trying to make a very sad equivocation saying, no, because Pentecost happened, somehow this came true. It didn't come true. There's more words don't mean words. And I would have ran if I was you too. Imagine coming in and having that amount of confidence only to get absolutely cooked. Crazy.